Hello, I'm Leslie Davis, and I'm coming to you live from Katy, Texas. Of course, when you see this, it'll be recorded, but that's all right. Anyway, I'm excited to be here with you, and I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Yemi. Yemi?
Hello, Leslie. It's nice to have you here today. My name is Yemi, everybody, and I'm speaking to you live from, not live, recorded from Kent in the United Kingdom. And Leslie and I are going to have a quick chat this morning, about our books and the No Diet Zone platform.
Yes, Yemi, in reading your book, The Weight Loss Code, which I think is a fabulous name for a book. I mean, that's exciting. My first question was, who were you writing this book for?
Truth is, I started writing first to myself because I spent a number of years on this diet fad and focused on so much complicated stuff that I couldn't apply in my everyday life. And there were stuff that I actually knew by virtue of my profession as well. But then I started this lifestyle and I was finding out some basic, simple things that were helping me out. So when I found something new or interesting or exciting or a new recipe, I was just writing them down so that I could do them again, so that I could repeat them. Or if I had a bad day or a good day or a funny day, if you read my draft, you would laugh because I was just talking to myself basically. But then as the result of my weight loss started to become evident to people, I started realizing that almost every adult around me was trying to lose weight. So the questions that people were asking me in the office, in my neighborhood, in church, in places like that, were actually stuff that I had written down in my book. And that was where I started realizing, okay, although I wrote this for myself, I might actually have to publish it for others, because this information actually is being useful to me and it answers a lot of the questions that other people are asking. So the honest truth is, who did I write to? I would say I wrote to myself and then I published to everybody else who is like me.
But isn't that amazing that you started out with the conversation being to yourself?
Yeah, that's similar to yours, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Because that's exactly what happened with You Can't Eat Love. Is I was having a conversation just with myself, and like you, suddenly realizing that other people had the same questions, which circles back around to how many times in class or in a meeting where information is being given, the person will say there are no dumb questions, or if you have a question, somebody else probably does as well.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I would say that we are very, very much evidence that we had the question. So why are we surprised that somebody else had the same question?
True.
But what I love is you said you wrote the book to yourself and you published it for everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very powerful.
Well, I like that when I read your book too, Leslie, because when I was reading your book, it felt like you were writing to me. And the first few pages, I realized I was highlighting on every single page. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to turn this book into a coloring book before I know it. Because it felt like you were actually speaking to me. I could relate with the content. And I think that's the joy of it, because the fact that you started writing to yourself first, it's personal stuff. It's not just stuff from the internet or some jargon from somewhere. It's actually stuff that you relate with, you've applied. And it makes that sort of easy to apply, for anybody else who reads.
Well, and I had the same experience reading yours and your book. I've got highlights, underlines, tabs, and all this stuff. And I was laughing to myself. I said, I'm going to have to go back to the store and buy more Post-it notes. So, because I like to tab important information. But what I loved about your book is you took really complicated information and broke it down so that it was easy to understand. Even I know that your background is in nutrition, so you can speak that high level nutrition language, but you wrote your book to the person who doesn't speak nutrition, which I found to be very, very useful. But the principle that runs through your whole book that I love is you talk about being aware of your calories going in.
Yeah.
Compared to your calories going out.
Yeah.
And you circle back around to that every time. And you don't talk about any level of denial And you don't talk
Mm,
about any level of shaming, and nothing is off limits. So
yeah,
while you're providing concrete information about the food, you're not saying don't eat, you shouldn't eat, none of those
yeah,
things.
yeah,
So that to me is the most powerful part.
yeah. When you talked about that, for me, I can't do anything that says don't do this. Like any other human being, you actually want to do it more because someone says don't. And so it's more about actually knowing why I should do this, what I should do, why I should do it, and then I can apply that in any other situation. And when you talked about no shaming and no all of that in my book, and that brings me back to what I saw in your book about the lies I tell myself. Now, those lies and somewhere that you talked about the sabotage and all of that, and I actually literally put names across some of those in my book, and the situations that I knew that, it's a lot of, and your books, it just really opened my mind to the fact that it's not just only about the science. There are these lies that we keep telling ourselves
Mhm.
that actually are holding us back from applying the simple and the basic information that should help us to deliver the results we want. So that for me, those lies I tell myself, I can't get this out of my head, to be honest, because they're just so true and applicable to anybody who's trying to lose weight.
Well, and when I began my journey, the thing that I had to start recognizing was how many people were inside my head and how I was allowing those people to tell me lies. And, some of those people are me and myself.
Yeah.
And I say in the book, me and myself are the only two people you can lie to. And I was lying to them, and I was allowing myself to tell them lies. But, facing and confronting those things was difficult because you have to admit, you have
Yeah.
to admit that there is a different way. So it was hard for me to be honest about it, but I recognized in order for me and myself to move forward, I had to be honest about it.
I have to be honest to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had to be
Yeah.
honest to myself. Yeah. Yeah. That's really big for me because at the beginning of the weight loss journey, I think for years I've been telling myself that I was just slightly overweight, but in actual sense, I was obese. But it was easier for me to tell myself that I was overweight. I could deal with overweight more than I could with being obese. But the reality was, putting the numbers down, I was actually obese. I'd just been lying to myself. And I told myself lies about, I saw that in your book as well. This one doesn't matter. Everything I put in my mouth, this is not the main meal. Of course, I'm just cooking and I'm just putting that in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But it all adds up. It just all adds up in the end somehow. And when I was reading your book, and I thought, even after writing this book, I'm still guilty of this lie sometimes. And I know
Well,
that a lot of people watching are at the same time. So it will be nice. I'm really looking forward to the sessions that we're going to have around that, and how you sort of broke free from that
yes.
circle mentally, to then be able to embrace what you needed to embrace to help deliver the weight loss that you wanted to
Mhm.
see.
Yes. Well, and when you were writing your book, I'm just curious, what did you hope would be the result as a consequence of publishing the book? Because you've already said you wrote the book for yourself, but you
Yeah.
published it for everyone else.
Yeah.
So now that it's published, what did you hope would be the result?
Simplicity. First and foremost, simplicity. I just wanted
Mm,
to break down all of those complex languages that we all know like the back of our hands. How many times do you talk to your friends before I lost weight? And we all talk about different approaches, different methods, different terms. And I'm wondering, why haven't we been able to apply it every day? Because it's just complicated. So what I was hoping to drive with my book was to the message that weight loss doesn't have to be complicated.
mhm.
Eating healthy doesn't have to be restrictive, because I struggled a lot with that. For years, I put stuff in my mouth that I didn't like, and I just closed my eyes and just swallowed them just in the name of losing weight. And I just couldn't deal with the idea of living my entire life not eating the Nigerian meals that I thought were unhealthy. So I had to find a way around them. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be restrictive, and it doesn't have to be extreme. Not extreme of diet, not extreme of exercise. I just wanted to bring it down to simple. And I think the more people embrace those simple foundational stuff, the majority of us will get the result we want on those basic principles. Unless there's an extreme health condition that you're dealing with, the most of us will actually achieve our results with those simple fundamentals.
Which is exactly why we call this the no diet zone. It's a lifestyle. You know, what you and I both are teaching and demonstrating is that this is not a diet, it's a lifestyle. And if it's going to be a lifestyle, there should not, I hate that word, but there should not be all of these no's in your life. Because based on human nature, we're going to rebel against the no's.
Against the no's.
And so what I'd love, you know, is how you teach, you know, calorie, you teach nutrition, you teach all of these things, and not one place in there is you can't, you shouldn't, you know, anything is on limits.
Because I can't deal with you can't myself.
No, it's simply a matter of learning that if you want cake, okay, have some cake, but understand that you know, you can enjoy this size of a piece, not this size of a piece. Because so many people think, I have to have this. This was one of my thoughts. I have to have this much because I'm not going to get any more. And how crazy is that thought? You know, you can always go and get more unless you're in, you know, certain situations. But that's what I'd love. So simplicity, because you're not teaching anything about not being able to have. It's being aware, being mindful, and understanding that a little bit is okay, and being satisfied. So you drive people towards better choices. Better choices.
And you then, because the first thing that struck me with your book was the title. You can't eat love. And I'm okay. I tried reading it several ways. I tried doing you can't eat love, you can't eat love. I tried to find different ways to make it. What was going on in your mind when you named your book that? And what were you trying to achieve with that as well? Because I still can't.
Well, truthfully, I tell the story of how I came up with the title in the very first few paragraphs of the book. It was truthfully Mother's Day. I made these pies. I sat down, I was eating them. And I don't know if on occasion something reveals itself to you. It's like somebody just pulls this curtain back and there's this giant aha moment. And that's what I had. It was a giant aha moment. You can't eat love. You can't. You can do whatever you want to do, but you can't eat love. And so I said, I was commenting to a friend, you know, recounting the story, and she said, that would be a great title for a book. You should write it. And I said,
actually, it stands out. It really stands out.
I said, nah. Anyway, it just kept circling back to me. In fact, what I had done was I had been working on a whole nother book. And so I had papers laying all over the table. And so when I had this thought, I sat down and grabbed, you know, a piece of paper like this and a pen like this and wrote out the first two paragraphs. And then just stuck it somewhere and let it sit. And until I finally said, now's the time. And what I hope that people would get from the book is understanding that even though you believe you have a myself-sized hole in your heart that you're trying to fill by eating food, you really don't. Simply need to start rethinking how you think about yourself and learning to love yourself. So that was the whole thing. So I hope that by the time people reach the end of the book, that they are beginning to understand that they are enough. That's the message I hope people get, is they are enough.
Because what I think you did with that book was to expose actually the reason why we're eating what we're doing, what we're doing, without us actually thinking about it. So when I was reading it, I was like, actually, yeah, that's true. But I never thought about it that way. I never thought about it that way. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about the next few weeks, the workshop on the 27th, the 5 days challenge, and the 6 weeks boot camp. Because I know that we're going to dive deep into all of these things, not just scratching the surface, but actually taking people on this journey. And like you said when we first talked about this, that we're not looking to change 1 million lives today, but if there is one person that we can get to successfully finish this journey, our goal has been accomplished. So I'm really, really looking forward to the next few weeks.
Oh, I am as well. I cannot wait to be working with you. And it's so exciting that we have the power of the internet, where you can be on one side of the world and I'm on the other side of the world, and we can connect with other people around the world. But the mission, the objective, the goal of the No Diet Zone is that we help one person, and then one person, and then one person.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for listening, if you're watching this later, and we hope that that gives you a sneak peek into what you can look forward to in the next few weeks. And just a bit about us. Whatever we've discussed today, we would go actually deeper into all of these things over the next few weeks. Like you've heard us say, this is not a zone where we say, don't do this, don't do that. This is about you understanding what you want to do, why you're doing it, and how. So there's not going to be any rules. It's about understanding the basics, loving yourself, and achieving the results you've been longing for. So please don't waste time. If you're interested in joining this, the places are filling up faster than we actually thought. So don't waste time. Book your place on the link, and we can't wait to see you.
Yes, we can't wait to see you. Thank you so much.